Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Ask Sharifah Videocast. I am your host, Sharifah Hardie, and I have an amazing show for you today. I love when I have the opportunity to speak with my friends. And if you watch all of my shows, almost everyone is my friend, but I have such amazing friends. I'm like, the world has to meet them. And I know the information that is provided today, you will love. So I'm going to ask you to do what I always ask you to do, and that's to go ahead and share this show, because friends don't let friends miss out on Ask Sharifah Videocast. So we have Miss Kim O'Neill on the show today. She's going to talk to us about her coaching business. She's going to talk to us about being an entrepreneur. She's going to talk to us about what she's done to be successful during this global pandemic, as well as her podcast, Every Day is a New Day podcast and live show. Good afternoon, Kim. How are you?
Good afternoon, Sharifah. I'm doing great, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much. I love how you say, I interview my friends and have such great friends. And so I'm honored to be a friend of yours. I will just say that when I first met you, we spoke very little, but I really appreciated how your heart showed up for me when we spoke. And so that spoke volumes about who you are. So thank you.
Thank you. I remember meeting you, and it's weird. I think a lot of people are like this, but if a person comes to you through a certain person, that means so much more. And you were amazing, but you came to me through a dear friend of mine, Keith Leon, and I had him on my show yesterday, and I keep telling the story of how we met, but it was so amazing that anybody I meet through him, I'm like, this person is blessed. Like, they're an amazing person, and they haven't even opened their mouth. They haven't spoke, but I know they're amazing just based on who I met them through.
I hear you. I have had that same feeling about Keith and his friends, and I consider him a dear friend as well. So absolutely, that was a wonderful experience. I'll just say, for anybody wondering, we were at one of his book events, and yeah, that was very, very touching, and I'm grateful. I was able to sit by you and meet you at that event. Thank you.
Well, what I was grateful about at that event was, I'm not known for being shy. And I think Keith had made a statement about, if anybody wants to touch the book, then they'll be prosperous, or all the abundance will come in. I forgot how he phrased it. So if Keith is watching this, please forgive me for misquoting you. But I was like, I want that book. And you were like, I want that book, and most people would have sat back and be like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if you know what I mean? And we were like, let's do it. So I saw your energy and like, I want it.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, how many times do you have to have that scenario where someone says, okay, I'm holding up $1, who wants it, right? Have you had an experience like this? And it's literally whoever gets up first and goes for it, right?
Right.
Yeah, so kind of same thing. You're in a room with a book that's as powerful as that, and it's like, okay, here's my chance. Let me touch it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So what made you decide to go that day?
Oh gosh. Well, that was my second or third. No, that was the second. That was the second book event of Keith's that I had done. Again, for anybody watching, he recently wrote a book on angels. And so I just really drawn to the subject and his stories. And, I'd been to one already, and that was fantastic. And this one in particular, was with another mutual contact of ours, and now also Keith's, Zulmara. And so it was just a treat to be able to be there in her home, see his event again. I know that they're different every time. And you just be in that energy. I think that's too, it's just a high vibe, loving, safe, accepting energy. I mean, I think we all want to be surrounded by that. And so I was like, yeah, it's no brainer. This was local. I'm going for sure.
Yes. And that was the other interesting thing about meeting Keith, is that we met in a kind of woo-woo way. But then he doesn't even live in Long Beach anymore. And as you know, Long Beach, California is huge. But when he came back to California to do a book signing, his book signing was in the home of a friend of mine. And I talked to Zulmara every day, all day. And this is the one person here in Long Beach where you are coming to do a book signing. So it's just like, we haven't even gotten to what you do and your things, but you know what I mean? I love to just connect with people and truly let people understand that this is profound. This is unusual. This is not typical.
Well, it kind of makes me think about the whole 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, or right. We're all connected in some form. And it's those moments when the timing is just right, or we're in that certain place in our life. And it's like, okay, now these dots are going to connect. And then we can, and so it's a huge world that's also very small because we're all connected in ways like that.
Yes. So talk to us about what you do. Talk to us about your coaching.
Yeah, I do a few things. So I do confidence coaching and I do interview coaching. There's overlap and not. And I started that way with interview coaching back in 2013, really wanting to help people prepare for interviews. Because I was just noticing these small little things that they were missing and they weren't quite hitting the mark and getting the job. And so I was really able to serve in that way. And within a couple of years, I saw how I always wanted to go beyond interview coaching, but it really became very clear to me too that preparing for an interview, I mean, if you really want to be able to showcase who you are and what you can do and, shine your best self in that job interview, it really helps to be able to go deeper. You're not just saying a few keywords. Oh, I'm supposed to say this. Oh, hopefully they'll like me if I say this. To me, it's all about getting to that deeper place in yourself where you know who you are. You own that you're good at this or that, whatever it may be. You own it. And you can also now speak about that. And to me, there's a fine line between being confident and being cocky. There's a difference. And what I have found is it's that line that people are afraid to cross. They're afraid that, oh no, if I say that I'm good at something, if I really, if I really show that I know I'm good at something, then someone's going to think I'm bragging but I think I'm good, but maybe I'm not as good as I think I am. And so all those little self-doubt things start to factor in, and they end up creating that result, that outcome of whether or not they're received well, get the job offer or not. And so being able to see that I could serve people in helping to clear up some of those things and to own more of who they are and to, yes, embrace what you're good at. You deserve that. You're worthy of that. That's how you also get to feel better in just your day-to-day life, because you're no longer hanging on to these doubts or fears or anxieties that were never yours to hang on to anyway. I think it's good to have awareness of things like that, but then also check in and go, what's true here and what's not? And there's always room for growth. So as amazing as you are today, you can still always get better and better and better. So it's okay to know that there's both sides of it. And today, own the awesomeness that you have today. But I thank you for even asking me about the coaching, because something that keeps coming up lately for me is I don't typically talk about interviews on interview coaching on social media or in my emails, things like that. And the reason why is because what I was just talking about, everything goes so much deeper. And so one of my interviews coming up soon on my show, I'm going to be talking to someone about healing ancestral wounds, healing family patterns and things like that. And I realized that, I think I'm going to start to be a little more deliberate in connecting those dots for people, because you just may not know how deep something from, your childhood, or maybe it's your parents' childhood, that's somehow factoring into how you live and operate and think in the world today, that is then showing up in things such as a job interview or how you talk to other people, because you're hanging on to stuff that either you might be aware or you might not be aware. And it's tweaking who you are and how you feel about yourself. So I help people with all of that, everything from the practical about, hey, these words sound a little better than this word in the interview. And you know what, you don't need to hang on to that trauma anymore, and working through all that. So that's the range of what we do in my coaching, and I love it. And so thank you for asking me about that.
You are deep. A lot of what you said was not on the surface level. And I'm like, wow, I can even imagine the connection in an interview between the ancestors and what's in our DNA. And I want an example of that. But while you were speaking, one of the questions that I was going to ask you, and it may be a complete sidebar, is I have seen recently that the majority of the people who interview, they don't dress up like, we used to do in the past. In the past, when you were going to a job interview, you put on that suit. If you were a gentleman, you put on that tie. That now it's like people are going to interviews in jeans and in, whatever they're wearing and all kind of stuff. And there's nothing to say that, but we don't put that same image forth, I believe. And that's why I want to ask you, and is there a connection between what's in our lineage or our confidence, or is it just okay to go, in gym shorts and tank tops to interview?
That is a great question, Sharifah. My answer leans more towards the culture of, business culture of today, which is still very varied. You still have organizations that operate with, yes, we want to see you show up in a suit and tie. We expect that of you. And we have a lot of other organizations that are completely fine with business casual, which is still, you're putting some effort into what you wear and how you look. You're not going to be wearing jeans. You're certainly not going to be wearing flip-flops. And then there are other organizations that, inside their company, they're literally riding around on skateboards and anything goes. So this to me is one of the things about preparing for interviews that goes right to research the company that you're applying for. Get a feel for their culture. It's okay to even ask, is there an expected dress attire? When you get that call saying, hey, we want to interview you. If you don't know and you have a question, ask them, what is the expected attire? Because I think that really makes a huge role and a huge difference in how you're received as well. Definitely what we wear is not who we are, but does it make a difference in how we're received? Absolutely. So, yeah.
Do you give any advice on the clothing?
I do. Absolutely. I do. Yeah. I've done everything from, just giving little suggestions to literally looking at someone's closet and saying, this, not that. I think so there's so many things that factor into it. That would be way too much for today, but just a little tidbit. One thing I always recommend is wearing a watch. I'm not wearing a watch today, but this isn't a job interview. But I do recommend wearing a watch because it shows a commitment and attention to detail, to being on time. And it just says something about caring about the time, which matters in a work environment. So definitely that. I do think it helps to wear neutral colors, but also have a pop of color. It's okay to do that, do be mindful of things like, are you showing too much cleavage? Or, are your clothes not fitting comfortably? You want to also feel comfortable in your clothes. So lots of things factor into, looking a decent way, presenting yourself so that you'll be received, as a professional, as a credible. And at the same time, though, I don't believe you have to completely go out and buy a new wardrobe. I remember years ago when I was in my early 20s, I only had a few different things I could wear. And looking back now, I wouldn't wear those same things, but you do the best with what you have. And so, so you just do the best with what you have in your closet and show up and do your best. So
I think that's wonderful. So how do you get into this? How do you become an interview coach?
Sharifah,
that sounds like a story.
Well, here's the thing. It really goes to, I was so passionate about, it is time for me to start working with people one-on-one. Like, this is something I've seen for my life for literally decades. And so things weren't quite moving in the direction that I had envisioned. And all of a sudden I was like, okay, well then we're going to find another solution. What is the solution here? And so I was really just going through, what do I like to do? What am I good at? And where can I see, a need for people receiving some assistance? And that all came down to job interviews, because I had this plethora of job interview experience, everything from me applying for jobs to me being the person interviewing the people and also being the middle person, and so helping out with the hiring processes at different organizations. So I had all this experience, and it was just so clear to me. Okay. It'd been sitting in my mind for a while. And then it started with a family member. I had a relative who had been interviewing for a job for over a year, not ever getting selected. And finally I said, okay, look, let me help you. I know I can. And, she was open to it. We sat down, we had a session. She had her interview within a couple of days. She got the job.
Ooh.
And that was confirmation for both her and me. Okay, look, she just needed some tweaking here and there. And yes, interview coaching makes a huge, massive difference. So I started with that. It was my passion, what I saw I could, a gap I could fill. And I just started from there. And then, I wanted the education and all that other stuff to kind of fill in where I wanted to enhance my own credibility and how I can serve and help people. So I definitely took some certification courses and got a lot of training under my belt. But that's how it started.
Now, you also mentioned that you have experience in hiring as well. One of the things I did a lot of hiring. I always tell people the first thing that I do when I look at a resume is I look for spelling errors, grammatical errors. And if you haven't taken enough time to make sure your resume is correct, I don't even read, I don't care what your degree says. And it's like, that's in the trash. Because I do most things in my life by process of elimination. So I can focus on what I really want to look for. But it's like trash, trash, trash. Oh, okay. That, misspellings, errors, anything like that is gone. And then I focus on, the meat and potatoes. Do you have any key items you look for when hiring?
I love talking about this. I totally resonate with everything you just said. So yes, first and foremost, to me, it's immediately how easily can I look at this?
Right.
Is there enough white space that I can actually, enjoy taking time to read it? Or is every inch of your paper filled with something? Interviewers look at a lot of resumes. You hear about they only take this many seconds or this many seconds. There's all these different, people say different things. I know they may not take a lot of time. If it's not something that they can enjoy even looking at,
right,
that's an issue. So first, I just even look at how does it feel when I look at this? And then absolutely, I do look for, my eyes go right to spelling errors or things that are inconsistent. So like if someone's using a dash versus a hyphen, I know these are simple, small, little things, and they make a difference because they speak to the person's attention to detail. This is the very first thing you ever have as, what is their work product like? And so those kinds of things, not everything gets weighed on something such as a dash versus a hyphen or punctuation or a spelling error. But the more that you have, and depending on where they are and how it all comes together, it can add up and definitely make a difference for sure. So I look at all of that stuff. There was one time I remember receiving a resume that this was someone who was still using the objective line, and the objective said, I'm applying for, or I seek a position doing, and it was something completely other than what we were hiring for.
Right.
So that right there is also, okay, someone's not paying attention. Do they even really want this job? Because no one wants to hire someone who doesn't actually want that particular job.
Right.
Those things matter.
You really should know the job that you're applying for. I mean, that's basic, so I look at those things. I would consider that an error, and I would throw it in the trash. Now, what I'm interested in is, what have you seen, Kim, as far as the trend in hiring over the last 3 months, over this global pandemic? I saw an Indeed commercial that says, we are doing our best to find you work during this global pandemic. There are jobs out there. And I thought it was a really, to me, for lack of a better word, cool commercial, because it was just caring and saying, kind of don't give up hope. We'll help you find that job. What have you seen in the job market?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say that people are hiring. I know a lot of people are thinking that no one's hiring. I believe that people are hiring. I see that everywhere. There's still plenty of job postings on Indeed. There may not be jobs that a person would want, but there are definitely positions. If someone's simply in the space right now, I just need anything, there's something out there. I definitely feel that. And I also want to add that at this point where I'm at, I'm now researching and connecting with other people. So I'm not presently in a position where I'm at an organization hiring people, but I'm helping people bridge that gap. So what I'm seeing, not only are there jobs, but this is definitely a time where networking makes a huge difference.
Yes.
Huge, huge difference. And so, does that mean you have to infiltrate some sort of hard closed group? No, just start to connect with groups, on social media, comment on posts, respond to the person who's leading things and teaching, or the person who's hiring, saying we have this position. Connect with them in a real and authentic way. Those are ways that you can start networking. It's simply, friendship.
Yes. Yes.
It's friendship, and it's being a real person.
Yes.
You don't have to force anything. It's not about being someone that you're not, because people will sense that, they'll feel that, and it won't feel good. So that will work against you. So be confident in who you are, and you're ready to find a job. Awesome. So who do you know that is connected to something that you want to do, or might know someone that's connected to that, or might just know something more about an industry that you want to get it. I mean, each little thing, follow that trail. So to me, that's huge right now. It makes a big difference. And don't fall into the mindset of no one's hiring, there are no jobs. There are.
Yes, positive thinking. When we
Yes.
speak positive words, positive things happen. Now, it was something key that you said. You said be confident, but you're a confident coach. Aside from, I mean, I think people kind of tend to assume that people with low self-esteem or people who may have, I don't know, problems in other ways would need someone to coach their confidence. But I'm pretty sure you got the typical gamut of people, average people who like, you know what, I need more confidence.
Yes. So I have a range of people who know that they may be lacking self-confidence and self-esteem, and other people who are just frustrated.
Mhm.
They've been interviewing and they don't know why they're not being selected, or they're not getting hired. And so it may not be this outright, awareness of, oh, I'm not confident, but do you have a niggling of something within you where you hold back in interviews? You're
Mhm.
afraid to really talk about this or that. You're afraid to maybe even, start part of the conversation within an interview. You can do something like that. To me, it's all about being in the flow of it, knowing that this is an opportunity for, yes, them to get to know you and you to get to know them. It goes
Mhm.
both ways. Something no one likes in an interview is when, there's one person asking a question and the other person just says one word, or
Yes.
right. Or it's just kind of like trying to think of a different word here, just kind of like a doormat or something where, and I totally understand that, we get nervous sometimes. We get that. But make sure that your nerves aren't getting in the way where you can't have a conversation with the people that are talking to you, they're interviewing you, wanting to know more about you.
Mhm.
If you're limiting yourself with, okay, I'm just going to say one word, or, oh my gosh, what did they think of that answer? And you just stop and you keep waiting for the green light.
Mhm.
That's kind of like an automatic, okay, it's like pulling teeth. It doesn't feel
Right.
good. Yeah.
I
So
hate pulling teeth.
exactly. No one likes that. So that's what I help people with. There tend to be those little things where they're holding back. They're not allowing themselves to truly be who they are in a professional, in a professional manner. We're not talking about you're going to hang out and do whatever. And, no, in a professional manner, be who you are and own that. And, so that's, those are those little areas where I get to help people and go, okay, this is where it was hiding. Let's uproot that, fill it with the truth of how awesome you are.
Mhm.
And that's typically where the difference is, that they go to the interview and they get the job. Or I had one person go and she had 2 interviews back to back and she got them both. And then she had to decide, oh, great. Well, now what do I do?
Well, what a great problem to have. I think that's wonderful. More people need confidence coaches. But also, I think sometimes is we look at our lives and our background and our abilities in one way, and then someone else can look at it and say, like yourself, you can look at it and say, no, if you focus on these areas and you highlight these areas, it will display better who you are. I can give an example. In my past, I was laid off 8 times. And I got so dejected. I probably needed a confidence coach because I was like, I'll never get a job. I'll never get a job, that is a long term. I had these kind of feelings, especially because I knew on my resume, everything looked like I didn't stay anywhere for long. And so I went to one interview and the guy looked at my resume and he said, Sharifah, you have an interview of a resume of an engineer. He was like, because you can do so many different things. And do you know, to this day, I stole that line from this man. I don't remember the man's name, but I stole his line. And I tell people, I have the resume of an engineer, because I can network computers, I can do public relations, I can build websites, I can do PPC, I went to college to be an accountant. People don't understand. And it's like, but when you only look at it a certain way, from your perspective, all I saw was that I had been laid off 8 times. I needed somebody else to point out that I learned something from all those different jobs. So you understand what I'm saying, Kim?
Absolutely. And I think that's great. And that's where, being able to look at your experience through positive eyes makes a huge difference. Whatever you have, maybe you have a gap in employment, or yes, lots of short positions for whatever reason. There's that still does not take away from what you have to offer. And that's the beauty of, even working at, say, a small organization versus a large organization. Someone might say, oh, but I haven't, had the experience of working with a large organization. But have you been in a small mom and pop organization where you got to wear 50 million hats and learn how to do everything and be able to speak to people in higher positions and lower positions? Then that's gold. I love that story, Sharifah. Yes, that's an excellent line.
Yes, I stole it. I still use it to this day. I have the resume of an engineer, and I use that to my advantage. But the most important thing was that it taught me a lesson. It really did. And that lesson is why I brought it up in what you say. It was a confidence thing because of the fact that I've been laid off so many times. My confidence had been affected. My confidence in being able to present my resume, which is in essence present who I am to people. I was already feeling, again, dejected and feeling like, oh, they're not going to select me. They're not going to choose me because they already know I'm not going to stay long. And it wasn't until I changed my perception of myself that doors opened for me.
That was a gift that he gave you with that line.
Yes.
And that's really awesome that you grabbed that too. Like, ooh, I could use that. Things happen, I love that. It could be easy to even gloss over and form a belief about certain little statements that people make about us. And I don't know, I'm just really feeling like right now in this moment, it's really important to recognize when someone gives you something like that can be used over and over and over again. So yeah, that's beautiful. Resume of an engineer.
It was truly a gift, and I appreciate it, and I go with that. It kind of sets me up a higher level. But I want you didn't just stop there with helping your relative. You didn't just stop there with coaching. You said, let me do more. So you also have a podcast and a live show. Talk to us a little bit about that, what it is, how you got started.
Absolutely. Yes. So my show is called Every Day is a New Day. It's a podcast and live show. And that started in 2015. There was an opening at an internet radio station that a friend of mine, another podcaster, was on. And she said, Kim, I think you'd be a great fit for this. Are you interested? And the first time she asked me, I actually said, I freaked out. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, no, I can't do this. But I also knew, okay, this is like my heads up. I knew it was going to come back around a second time. And whenever that second time was, I knew I was going to have to say yes. So the first time I said, no, not for me, not right now. And it came around about 6 months later, and I still had that same reaction, like, oh no. And it didn't matter though, because I knew I'm supposed to say yes to this. So I said yes about 5 years ago. It's evolved many times over the years. It wasn't even
I just want to interrupt. I don't mean to interrupt. I just had to, because you were going to go on to a different point. And I want to go back because it was, to me, that was beautiful when you talked about it came back around, and I knew it was going to come back around. How did you know? How did you know?
You know what? That's a great question. And I don't know how I knew. So it was just an intuition thing. And I just had this sense that it was going to come back around at some point. And I knew in that moment, I was not ready to say yes at that first time. I was not ready, but I just knew this was for me. And it wasn't ever something I imagined. So that was the other thing. And I think where some of the, anxiety came in at first, because I didn't see myself doing a podcast or any sort of live show. But it made sense. And I'm grateful I said yes. I'm grateful I said yes to working through the nerves and the fear and the anxiety.
Did you feel it was the imposter syndrome though?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. There definitely was a lot of that. And yeah, that's a great question. I feel like there's a bunch of stuff I could say on that right now. What do I want to most say?
Because we start to think, because I launched my first radio show, Ask Sharifah Radio, in 2009. And there's always been this aspect of who am I? Who am I to, tell people Ask Sharifah, but there's a humbleness in that, because I tell people I don't know it all, but Ask Sharifah, the whole idea is built on my network. You know what I mean? That if I don't know, I guarantee you I can reach out to someone who either they know or they know someone who knows. So I don't have all the answers, but first of all, I know that God knows, and then I'm directed to certain people to get the answers that people ask. But just having a radio show called Ask Sharifah Radio, there's a who am I? Who am I to tell people?
I totally get that. I totally get that. And yes, I felt some of that too, for sure. I think, the first thing that comes to mind is, who are you not, right? I'm sure you know that. Who are you not?
Yes.
Who are any of us to not do the things that feel good, that we feel called to do, that we feel passionate about? This is something that, I very much feel like a bridge. So when I do my show, I feel like it's an opportunity for me to bridge a gap between whoever my guest is and my audience, whoever's out there who might be listening, who might be looking for that inspiration, who might be looking for some guidance or some answers, to know that there is a solution for whatever they're experiencing, to know that, oh, gosh, I've thought about doing a live show, but I'm not so sure. And Kim's doing it. Well, maybe I could do it too, or who knows, anything at all. Like I end up feeling like a bridge a lot of the time, just like with what you said, connecting people to different resources and solutions and things like that. But it's also really important. And so to anybody out there who hosts their own show, wants to host their own show, wants to do more speaking, anything of that sort, it's so important for me to do what I love. Mm-hmm. Like that is like, I can't, and so I love hosting a show so much that, I have moments where I sometimes go, okay, maybe it's time to throw in the towel, or maybe we're on the verge of switching it up again, which I've done many times. And then every time so far, something brings me back, reignites my fire. And I'm like, yes, that's right. That's why I do this. And I love it. And so it's also just another one of those things of like, why would you not do those things that you love? It's not about being an expert. And like anything, you grow over time, you improve, you get better. So you start where you are and then you build on that. I've had people come back to me and say, wow, Kim, just because they saw me when I first started, where a lot of that fear and anxiety was still showing up, and I know it was showing up, and they see that there's less. I'm not going to say that it's never there, because it does still show up at times. And I just have to go, okay, it's here today, and we're going to move through it and work beyond it, because I'm not going to be stopped by it.
I think it has to be there, because from what I've read, and I do a lot of research on successful people, and all of them have said it never goes away. And if it does go away, that's when you should be concerned, because that's when you're operating strictly out of ego, that you no longer care how people react. The nervousness is, it's important to me that I do a good job.
Okay, so I love that you brought this up. I get that, and I don't completely agree. I think that there's the possibility to be operating out of total ego. Mm-hmm. But to me, what I also hear a limiting belief with that, because that's then saying I have to always feel some form of nervousness or fear in order to do this thing that I love. And hello, does nervousness or fear feel good? It could, if it's excitement. Yeah. Like, yeah. if it's nerves in the form of excitement, absolutely. It feels awesome. Right. Yes. But I don't think any of us really want to be carrying around this excess fear or anxiety.
No. Just the excitement, the nervousness, that we don't take it for granted that we do a good job. I've been doing this, like I said, and it's not that it's forever, but since 2009, it's still so important to me that everyone has a wonderful experience. We talked before we started the show, and I was like, Kim, I want you to have this wonderful experience. This is important to me. I don't want to ever get to that point where I'm like, okay, you're on the show, that's nice, and it's just more of a nonchalant thing. But I completely agree with what you said, and I hadn't thought about it that way. It's not the fear, it's just the caring aspect of caring that this is a wonderful experience. But that is, like you said, because you love what you do. And when you stop loving what you do, that's when it becomes like, the ego and that aspect of it.
Absolutely. And there was another thing that you just said I wanted to speak to. Come back to me. What was it?
I probably was talking about the ego.
It was what was it? It was the ego. We were talking about the fear, the anxiety, about feeling good, loving what you do.
And if you don't love what you do, It's gonna come back to you. It's gonna come back
It's
to you at 3 a.m. and you're gonna wake up and you're gonna say, "That's what I wanted to tell Sharifah." See, that's what happens when I interrupt. I make people lose their train of thought.
no, you did fine. I guess I just want to say that here, thank you. Here it is. Is that one of the, okay, so I was just talking about this with someone else today. So I refer to myself as a recovering perfectionist.
Yes, I am too.
Okay, recovering perfectionist party. So one of the awesome things about going live, well, when I first started a show, it was live, but not on social media immediately. Okay. It was live on the internet. And then on social media, I eventually started doing live video shows like this. And so anyway, so throughout all of that, it really brought up perfectionism that I had, I had already worked through it to a certain degree. And then it brought up more that, okay, there's a little more to work through. Mm. And to me, every time I feel some sense of, of unexpected anxiety or fear, or I start to second guess, self-doubt, whatever it might be, for me, I know for myself, that's me kicking back into some form of perfectionism. And I know, because I've worked on this so many times, it's okay to be where you are. It's okay if it's okay if something resurfaces. I'm human. Everyone's human. And so to me, it's okay. It's not about being perfect. It never, ever was. And there will never be another you, a me, whoever's watching and listening out there. There will never be another one like you. So to me, it's this whole thing of understanding who you are, the things that you have to work through, allowing yourself to be okay, work through them, but don't let them stop you from doing those things that you love. And so finding the balance and flow through that and with that, to me, has been important and helpful for me. And I think is really key for everyone out there, because as long as we're alive, we're always going to have more to work through. And so anyway, so to me, I love when I'm able to do an interview and I don't feel any sense of fear or anxiety. And yet there's still times when it does happen, and it's fine. It's just, it happens. I accept it and I carry on. I'm
a recovering perfectionist as well. And what's interesting is my mother's name was Patricia. My mother's name is Patricia, right? But as a kid, she has two other sisters. They always called her Perfect Patty because everything had to be perfect. So I tell people, if she was Perfect Patty, just imagine being Perfect Patty's daughter, right? Everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be her standards. And I lived with that all my life. But one of the things that changed for me is that I launched the Roundtable Talk Show, and I came up with the idea on March 3rd. And I announced it. It's going to launch March 30th. It's going to happen. And what happens? The whole world goes to hell in a handbasket. Global pandemic, everything shut down. I can't even go to the beauty salon. And I hadn't gone to the beauty salon since February. Time comes to go to show, and my friends are like, "What are you going to do?" I'm like, "What am I going to do about what?" They're like, "You haven't even got your hair done." I'm like, "The show must go on." I put that bad boy in a ponytail and kept it pushing. But it's just like, I was at that point of, hey, it's okay. How, people can understand, what's going on. So I can completely relate. And I think I just segued into a whole different conversation, because you were telling us about your podcast and the two yeses, or the first no and then a yes, and then I started talking, and then Sharifah starts talking. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you did great. I'm loving our conversation, Sharifah. But okay, yes, I will actually say a little more about my show. So it's called Every Day is a New Day, and inspirational conversations with awesome, amazing people about moving forward and choosing, I switch it up, choosing to embrace a positive outlook, choosing to be more of you, having that flow and alignment, and remembering where there's choice, which we can sometimes forget. And so I have a variety of guests on there. We do talk about everything from, I've had some people on there where we talk about the interview process, and then, just like tonight's guest is going to be, we're going to be talking about family and, centuries past and healing, all that stuff. And so it ranges, and I love it. And right now, here we are in mid 2020. I don't know if that's okay to say right now.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. That's where we are.
Okay. So I'm guessing that. Okay. So here we are, end of July 2020, and I've started a whole new series called Rise and Shine Every day is a new day, creating 2020 vision. So I'm adding a secondary show series that we just started. I'm super excited about. It's a much shorter series airing in the morning with a different guest each time. And we're talking about vision, mindset, emotions, and taking action. These 4 key elements that really can support to enhance us stepping into a vision for ourselves. Because if this is our life, how do we want to live it? And that doesn't mean anything about there's no judgment about whatever's been experienced. I know this has been a very challenging year in so many ways for so many people, me included. And when we get to that space, we're ready to say enough is enough. I'm ready to move forward. I'm ready to claim my power. I'm ready to create and experience something different. That's what this is about. So for anybody who's resonating for that, that's what I'm doing now. And we're having fun with it. Just talking about those 4 subjects. And, I'm asking my guests to sing and, be playful. And, we rapped on Monday, so it's all good.
I would rap before I sing. I'm just to let, I don't want your whole show crashing and nobody ever come back. They'd be like, who is that squealing cat on the show? Oh, that was Sharifah singing. No.
Well, Sharifah, I'm gonna say it again. I already invited you, but you're still welcome to come on the show. I would love to have you rap on the show.
Yes, I want to come on your show. The only thing is your show airs at the same exact time as the Roundtable Talk Show.
I thought it was after though. Isn't there slightly different?
No, the Roundtable is from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m.
And mine's at 9. Oh, well,
Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. You gonna do like a 2-minute introduction, not even 2 minutes, because I'm in my show at 8:59, okay. And then you know what I mean. You might have to talk for a couple of seconds, and then bam, I'm gonna be there. But I'm gonna be there. But it was the time why it wasn't on the show.
I'm fine with that if you're fine with that.
I am fine with that. I would love to do that. I want to turn these tables. Oh, look at Kim, get her girl out.
Awesome. Okay, I'm glad to hear that we'll be having you on there and get to hear you sing rap.
I shouldn't even say rap. I made the mistake of saying rap, and then someone in the comments, one of my friends who's a rapper, said, "You can rap with me, Sharifah." No, I'm not rapping. I'm not singing. I'm not doing it. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna write a little rap. So I'm gonna be prepared for this show. I'm gonna come on Kim's show. I'm gonna rap. I'm gonna flow. Y'all gonna see a different side of Reed, and then I'm gonna be like, Kim, if you don't take that show down, okay, take it down, because it's gonna show up in the Google search engine results, and people gonna see me, and then my whole life is gonna be over. They're gonna be like, wait a minute. First of all, she's a consultant. She's an author. She's a talk show host. She ran for city council, and now she wants to rap. You know how people do.
I do know how people do, and I love that you just threw that out there. Anything is possible. You can do and be anything and everything you want to be. And so the beautiful part of that is, how amazing would that be to have a city council person who's also beat bopping and rapping because she's a recovered perfectionist and she is all good with it. And I got you, Sharifah, so it's all good.
I don't know. I'm just saying, this was fun. I had a ball sitting here talking to you today. It just was a conversation, not even an interview. But we are coming down to the last few minutes of the show. And what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching live, as well as everyone who watches the show in the archives, and simply let them know what you want them to take away from your interview.
Oh, thank you for that, Sharifah. You know what? I think the message that really stands out most today is it's all okay. And the more that we can accept what's happening, acceptance meaning we're going to stop trying to fight it. Mm-hmm. We just allow, and then we remember our power, knowing who you are, and say, okay, that may have sucked, and today I want to choose something different. Mm-hmm. And then we get to move forward. It's that whole fighting and denying of the past and of all the things we don't like, or, oh, I'm not perfect, or I didn't do this or that right, that actually keeps us stuck there longer. So forgive yourself, be easy on yourself, be loving towards yourself. And then when you're ready, remember, you get to choose something different and move forward. And that's the beauty of this. So that's what I would like to leave everybody with.
I thought that was beautiful. And what stood out to me, like the soft part that just softened it, was when you're ready. No,
Yes.
when you're ready. And I think that's what people forget all the time. I think I'm on a tangent today, but people forget all the time, like especially with the grief process. We always try to determine how long someone else needs to do something, or maybe just being unemployed, how long they before they're ready to look for a job. It's just like when you're ready, then you'll take the steps that you need to take to change your life or do whatever you need to do. So I think that was very kind that you even mentioned that. And it was beautiful. I love your parting words. I want to thank you for being today's guest on Ask Sharifah Videocast. I also want to thank everyone who tuned in to watch the show live, as well as everyone who watches it in the archives. But don't just watch the show. Please don't just watch the show. There's so much more you can do than just watch. You can share, you can support, you can visit our guests, and you can also be a guest yourself. Visit the website at AskSharifah.com and select Be a Guest. Until next time, I'm your host, Sharifah Hardie. Everyone have a safe and a blessed day. Bye now.